I wish I had better news to report, but sadly, the Packers took another loss this weekend. We'll recap the game in Las Vegas, listen to some feedback from our incredible community, and look ahead to what needs to be changed as the Green and Gold take a much-needed rest during their bye week. All this and more coming up next on your Packers Fan Podcast.
Greetings and salutations, Packers fans. Welcome back. I'm Wayne Henderson, and much like Scott said, this isn't how I wanted the Packers to be going into their bye week.
Not at all, and I'm a little ashamed to say I got a little upset last night at the game after the...
You're not alone.
I kind of pouted and just immediately got up and went to bed. I'm not too proud of that, but it did happen, so... It is what it is. All we can do is hope that in 2 weeks we can get back in the swing of things. Well, thanks for being here. I'm Scott Clark from the Gaming Outsider Podcast. On this 280th edition of the Packers Fan Podcast, we'll recap the Pack's heartbreaker against the Raiders.
And we do love getting your listener feedback, win or lose. We also love sharing it. So even after a loss, that's definitely what we're going to do in just a little bit after we recap the highs and lows from this game.
Well, and that's the thing, Wayne, is, this was a loss, but I think there's a lot to be excited about in this game. Things are looking good. I mean, the final score was not in our favor, but there's a lot to be happy for. Let's start with the leaders as far as the Packers players. First off, Jordan Love, 16 out of 30, 182 yards. A.J. Dillon, 20 carries for 76 yards and a touchdown, and Christian Watson had 3 receptions for 91 yards. We had a couple sacks as well, which we'll get to shortly, but not great numbers, but I did really enjoy seeing those numbers creep up for A.J. Dillon. He was really making a name for himself this week.
Absolutely, and that's what I was hoping to see, and what a game for A.J. Dillon, especially the 3 running plays to start the game. 3 running plays in a row, Scott, starting it off, so I'm like, all right, things are happening, and then a little later on, A.J. was a pivotal part of that touchdown drive, including, of course, the actual touchdown that happened right in front of my kids that were at the game. They had their iPhones out, and it was like, wow, that is right in front of them.
That's really cool. My question is, though, why wasn't this strategy utilized more in the game? I mean, that opening series that you talk about really felt like a statement. And, like, we're going to be a running team, because the Raiders' running defense is not their strong point by a long shot. So, let's just do this. I understand, Jones is out, so we don't have that 1-2 punch to go back and forth between those two guys. Dillon was kind of, the man in terms of this healthy team, in terms of the health of the team. But then we just relied on it less and less as the game went on. Yes, we had that awesome drive where Dillon was running and scored a touchdown. And I'm like, great, this is working. And then all of a sudden, let's just keep throwing passing plays. And yes, there were some solid ones. But I was just frustrated. Like, we're a running team now, guys. Everybody else is accepted except the coaching staff, apparently.
Well, somebody should send them a memo.
I know. And speaking of passing, there is good things happening there as well. What a beautiful 77-yard catch by Christian Watson in the third quarter. He was wide open, ran all the way down. He should have scored, but the Raider, I cannot remember the player's name, tackled him by doing a horse collar tackle, which got us half the distance to the goal. So we got at the 5-yard line, which, I mean, as much as I don't know. He kind of did the right thing because it kept us out of the end zone, and we were forced to settle for a field goal, which is frustrating. But man, what a cheap way to keep from scoring. I mean, just
exactly.
Don't play dirty. Come on,
frustration.
Can't tackle him. Yeah,
just let him go. Maybe next time. Also on the plus side, this time on defense, Rudy Ford getting an interception again this week. As excited as he was to get the ball back for the Packers. Personally, I think he was also elated that the defense could get off the field for a little while and get some rest.
Yeah, for sure. And this is actually 2 weeks in a row for Ford having a pick. So he's definitely making a name for himself, right there with Russell Douglas and the other guys. It's really cool to see that defense, the secondary, is doing well. Despite being so young, they're doing a solid job out there, and I'm loving seeing it. And speaking of defense, we also had sacks by Kenny Clark and Preston Smith. Really felt like the defense was looking much better this week. I know a lot of people are still calling for Joe Barry's head, but I blame the offense more than anyone for not keeping the defense off the field more, like you mentioned earlier, because the possession was pretty close this week. The Raiders had the ball for 32 minutes, 34 seconds, and the Packers had it for 27 minutes, 26 seconds. So pretty evenly matched in terms of possession, but like I said, I'm blaming the offense more. And I don't know if you remember, Wayne, but like, why was Preston Smith covering Davante Adams? Like, I saw that happen, and I was like, is that really going on right now? That does not seem like a good idea.
I have no clue. I haven't heard the official story. Maybe there was just a breakdown in coverage, and he was the closest one. I don't know, but it did not work out very well.
No, it did not. Thankfully, we were able to contain him a bit. I was expecting a lot more out of Davante Adams.
Right.
Because obviously they're going to talk about Adams being a former Packer, and he's going to be all over that. But they did a decent job, just not quite decent enough, unfortunately.
But Anders Carlson still perfect with his kicks. So at least his parents, who were at the game, got to see some successful field goals by one of their boys.
Yeah, I didn't realize that his brother was on the Raiders until they started showing that. And I don't know if you saw, his dad actually had a hat that had both the Packers logo and the Raiders logo on it. Because, who do you cheer for? But that was kind of cool. His longest was only 37 yards. But hey, it's hard to argue with perfection going this far into the season. So I'm not mad at that. He's on his way to be the next highest scoring player in Packers history, and I'm all for it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we got to talk about some lowlights. I mentioned it already, but abandoning the run game is just getting more and more frustrating. It's like, hey, this strategy is working great. Let's pass instead. I just don't understand it. It's beyond frustrating. And look, I think Jordan Love is a solid quarterback. He's looking better and better each week, but he's not Aaron Rodgers yet. I'm going to use that growth mindset, man. He's really great, but he's got a lot to prove there. And I get it. Jones is out, but there should have been more running. It's just very, very frustrating. It's all about we got to fool the defense into what kind of play we're playing. They knew we were running multiple times and we walked all over them. Let's keep doing that. But are you in agreement, or am I alone in this wanting more run game from the Packers?
No, I want more run game as well. Even if it's just A.J. Dillon, I can't wait for Aaron Jones to be back. But yeah, we were successful. I think A.J. Dillon, we kind of wore him out, but still, we could have done some more plays on the run side of thing. But And Troy Aikman made a good point midway through the game. Why was Romeo Doubs only targeted one time? Our other wide receivers didn't really stand out that much either on this night. Granted, there was that one great play you talked about from Christian Watson. Would have been a touchdown if it weren't for the horse collar tackle. It's a bummer that the penalty only got us, halfway to the goal, half the distance, instead of just giving us the ball on the 1 yard line, because that was so obviously going to be a touchdown and it was taken away. But other than that, there wasn't much in the wide receiver side of things for us.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm so used to the old Aaron Rodgers days where we're spreading the ball out to everybody. So maybe I'll chalk it up to that. Jordan's doesn't really have a favorite receiver yet.
Scott, there were times when Aaron Rodgers was not spreading the ball around to everybody.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. He had his favorite receiver towards the end, right? But
yes.
When he was solid, he was spreading the ball out. That was what we loved about him, that he didn't have a favorite target. And I will give Jordan Love credit that he's not picking a favorite target. He's going to, he's thrown to Musgrave quite a bit. I feel like he was one of his more targeted receivers than the actual receivers. So I had to mention, though, you brought up Troy Aikman. It really feels like Troy Aikman is slowly morphing into John Madden a little bit.
How so?
I don't know. Just some of the comments that he says just seem very, well, thanks, John. Yeah, I appreciate that. That was, I don't know. My wife actually commented that she thought he might have been ill last night just because he seemed a little bit off. And I don't know, when they actually showed the commentator box, his face was super red. I don't know. It just felt like he was just saying stuff just to be saying stuff instead of saying things to that were actually helpful. I don't know. I remember the old Frank Caliendo impersonations of John Madden. Well, here's a guy that when he puts his contacts in, he can see better. Troy was reminding me of that a little bit last night.
Those were,
I don't know,
fantastic John Madden impersonations back in the day. They were absolutely hilarious. But I'm with your wife. The fact that I do think that Troy Aikman was getting over a head cold, much like myself. So I don't know how red my face is, but hopefully I'm not going to just say stuff to say stuff, because, Brett Favre, he was this guy.
Brett Favre is Brett Favre, and you can't be Brett Favre unless you're Brett Favre and Brett Favre.
One of the funniest things Caliendo did back in the day in one of those impersonations was impersonating Madden and talking about how Brett Favre is so good that even if he's got a whole broken leg or maybe even a missing leg, he's still better than all the other quarterbacks out there. He could be like a pirate with one leg and a peg leg and winning the Super Bowl. And I wish I still had that on tape somewhere. Maybe I do.
Man, those are pretty good. Unfortunately, we got some new injuries to worry about as well. Quay Walker was out with a knee injury, and Darnell Savage is out with a calf injury. So we're just keep tacking them on. I think it was a perfect time for a bye week, man. I don't know about you.
Absolutely, Scott. When we first heard about that bye week, not too happy, but in hindsight, it's all working out. We need it now more than ever. So
Agreed.
Bring it on, and no word just yet how serious the knee and calf injuries are for the guys, but hopefully they will all be back at the end of the bye week. Another negative, the penalties on non-calls. There was both. There was the one that really got me, and this might have been the play when you were a little upset at the end of the game because the long bomb that would have likely, nothing's for sure, but likely been a touchdown for Christian Watson, but it got picked off by a Raider who obviously pushed off of Christian Watson. No penalty.
I did not see it. Like I said, as soon as it was picked off, I mean, no joke. I got up out of my seat and went immediately to bed. Didn't even watch the last final ticks.
Oh, you didn't even watch the replay to see the push off?
Nope. That's how mad I was, dude. I was so upset last night. I was like, this is ridiculous. So I will have to take your word for that. Maybe I'll go back and watch the final play. But yeah, what are you going to do? Well, that is the highlights and lowlights of the Packers versus Raiders game. We're going to go ahead and move on to some listener feedback. If you would like to be a part of upcoming podcast episodes, you can either call the PFP voicemail at +1 920 3PACK-GO, or you can also record your voice and email the recording to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com. Deadline for your calls is usually Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, so please be sure to get those in. And we've got one right here from Ireland. Colin in Ireland did a little help with some pronunciation we had last week. Take it away, Colin.
Hey Wayne, hey Scott, it's Colin here from Ireland. Just listening through to the podcast after the Lions match, and both pronunciations of Daniel Whelan's name are correct. On the east coast of Ireland, we would say Daniel Whelan, but further down into the countryside, people might say Daniel Whelan, but more often than not, people would say Daniel Whelan. Great show, guys. Keep it up.
Thanks so much, Colin. I gotta say, I feel like my voice sounds 10 times less cool than it does after hearing your Irish accent, because I am insanely jealous. That just sounds awesome. And thanks for the help. So I guess neither of us were wrong. Neither of us were right. Neither of us were wrong. It's Whelan or Whalen. I like it.
Whichever way we want to go. And, you mentioned the phone number, the +1 920 3PACK-GO. Of course, if you're in Ireland, it's much more feasible and economical to record it on your phone like Colin did and send it to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com, much like this next caller.
Go, 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 Pack, go! I will bleed green and gold till I'm dead and cold, but what the heck happened last night? That was supposed to be a get-right game, and they got everything wrong. Oh, that was just a disgusting display of everything that was wrong with I don't even have the words. Anyways, I'm starting to question Matt LaFleur's play calling ability. I'm starting to question Jordan Love's ability at the quarterback position, because I'll give him a pass on that deep ball at the end of the game, because he was just trying to make something happen and throwing it up there like a Hail Mary. But those other two interceptions were absolutely 100% on him. I don't know what he was looking at. One of them, he threw into triple coverage. There were three Raiders in front of where he was passing it, and he didn't even try to like go over those defenders. He just threw it right to him. It was just disgusting. I mean, the team played on offensively complementary football. You know, we talked about before. You know, the pass to the run ratio, that looked good, but still it was, and I'm saying this again, it seems like I'm saying this every single week, it was disjointed. They're not calling a consistent game. The only good drive, in my opinion, was the drive in the third quarter where we scored the touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And what did they do? They just kept giving A.J. Dillon the rock. And I turned to Jill and I said, see, that's what they need to keep doing. They're going to wear down the defense because nobody wants to keep on getting hit by a 230-pound man running at full speed. It's just going to wear them down. And what did they do? They went away from it. I have no idea why. So disappointing to see them lose against one of the worst teams in football. I mean, the Raiders came into this game 31st on defense and 30th on offense. So there was no reason to lose to these guys. Thank God there's a bye coming up here. I thought the Raiders game was going to be a get-right game, but now we're going to have a bye, have some more time off, and then we play probably the worst team in football, the Denver Broncos. I mean, even the Bears beat the Broncos, so hopefully we don't get embarrassed by the Broncos and we come away with the W and, you know, try to put something together. I know I said to temper our expectations, but I expect to beat the Raiders. I expect to beat the Broncos. I do not expect to be losing those kind of teams, even with as young of a team as we have. But you know what? I'm always going to support our team. Always going to back the green and gold. Love our team, love our fans, and I love the podcast. Way to go, Wayne and Scott. Can't wait to hear your thoughts and all our fans' thoughts. Go, 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 go. Go, Pack, go!
Dan's voice getting elated there at the end. Thank you so much, Mr. Dan Dyler, a.k.a. Captain Pack Sparrow. Yeah, what happened to our get right game? We got it all wrong. And starting to question Matt LaFleur's play calling.
I'm kind of with you, man. Kind of with you. I am. And I mean, it sounds like Dan is right on. He and I are simpatico in terms of why aren't we running the ball more? It is getting frustrating that we're just not running the ball more. I haven't heard anybody call it the rock in a long time. Like, give him the rock. Oh, man, that just brings back some memories of old school football. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, if we can't beat the Broncos, though, we're in big trouble, man.
They're going to want to make a statement as well with us rolling into town. So maybe that can be the get right game. Dan, thank you so much for sending that in, and let's see what happens. And of course, we won't have a game to recap when we record next Monday night, but we still want your voicemails and voice messages because we're going to be previewing the Broncos game coming out of the bye. So we want to hear your thoughts on what you expect, how you thought the bye went, although it's only been going on for 24 hours as of the time of this recording. But things will happen. Let's check in and see who gave us a call at +1 920 3 Pack Go.
Hi guys, this is Megan. I'm calling immediately after the game. I figured there's no point in waiting. I'll just have more time to think and commiserate in a way. Let's see. I'm in South Boston, and I thought that watching from Boston would give A.J. Dillon, good vibes. I thought of him. I was so happy that he had a better game than he has had. Good for him for the touchdown. I thought our defense played great for the most part. Really, it was kind of like a pathetic, kind of low-scoring Monday Night Football. Primetime game. Preston Smith did awesome. Rasul did awesome for the most part. It was quite cool. Kenny Clark did great. Other than, I think it was a false start, but I don't know what they called it. It seemed like a false start to me. yeah, it's a bummer to lose these games and lose a lot of games. I'm trying to have some positivity here, but it's hard to come by. I feel like watching Matt on the sideline, it's like disappointing, but it does start with coaching, and I don't know. I mean, I give major props to our Carlson brother kicker. He did better than the other, but at the end of the day, we're going into the bye and a loss, and that is not pleasant. I don't know. I really have no answers. I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm very much like Wayne, where I have rose-colored glasses, and I'm optimistic to what others might perceive as a fault, but I am just optimistic and believe in our team and bleed green and gold till I'm dead and cold. I so hope we can turn the rest of the season into a positive note, and it sucks to call about another loss, but I'm loyal to the soil and I have to call anyways because I love the podcast. I love the Packers. I love our team. I guess we're going to see. I'm going to be bringing my mom to the Vikings game at Lambeau in 2 weeks. Well, 3 weeks, I guess it's the bye. So I really hope for a positive turnaround. I thought it was super cool to see Jair lined up versus Devontae. I wondered if they had any, subtle words they were exchanging between the two of them. Miss Devontae. Miss our old team, but, at the end of the day, this is what we're working with. And I believe in our guys. I believe in our coaching. Trying to stay optimistic. Green and gold, sounds dead and cold. Let's go. Let's go, boys. We got this. We really got this. We just need to continue to believe in ourselves and not make stupid mistakes. That's about what I've got. Go Pack, go, baby. Let's go.
Thanks so much, Megan. Always love hearing from you. I don't think I've ever heard loyal to the soil. That's a fantastic phrase. I'm going to steal that one. That's amazing. I also think that Megan and Dan should do a Packers podcast. The two of them, how passionate they are, I think they should do that. I think it'd be great. But I love the positivity, Megan. I know it's hard to be positive after a loss, but that's why we say bleed green and gold till dead and cold. And it does not matter how bad things get. I'm still going to be loyal, and I love that you're that way as well too. It is hard to be positive. But yeah, having Wayne's rose-colored glasses is pretty nice too. So
we should come up with some sort of a design of some Packers Fan Podcast green and rose gold colored fan glasses. I have no idea how custom glasses can be made for an affordable price, but it was.
we can make the glass rose-colored, put the G's over it, and then have the actual frames be green and gold. How about that?
Okay. I'm not very creative in design, but I like the sound of it. Let me tell you. And Megan, yeah, that was cool to watch Jair covering Devontae because Jair, he brought the attitude and did a pretty darn good job. And super exciting to hear that you're going to the Vikings game at Lambeau Field and taking your mom. So yeah, we'll have things turned around by then. No worries at all.
Mm-hmm. Right? Better. 1-4 Vikings, we better, yeah. Yeah,
we better. The Vikings are 1-4. Oh well, 2-3 sounds so much better. So much better indeed.
Wayne Scott, Art from Texas. Well, it's growing pains. Growing pains. It's all part of the maturing process. Although it could be a little frustrating at times because we're used to decades of winning teams. But, just got to be patient. I ain't gonna lie though, I wouldn't mind seeing Clifford with a first team offense. Just saying. Green and gold, feeling dead and cold. Go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go indeed. Art, thanks for giving us a call from Texas. And yeah, this loss still hurts though, no matter what. And especially I think going into the bye with a loss is almost as tough as coming out of the bye with a loss. So we're not going to do that this year, but yeah, growing pains, and it's tough to be patient, Art. I understand. Yeah, we'll get there.
It is tough to be patient. I mean, honestly, I wasn't as optimistic going into actually, I wasn't as optimistic in the off season as Wayne was, because Wayne, we're gonna win all 16 games or 17, whatever. That's just how Wayne rolls. But
that's how Wayne rolls. You sound. Let me tell you, Scott, you sound like this guy right here.
Oh, that's Wayne. That's just the way he is. You know how he is. You can't tell him anything.
What is that?
That's a guy talking about Wayne. Can't tell him anything.
Can't tell Wayne anything. No, I mean, but I was not as optimistic as you going into this season.
Right.
And I feel like even though, we're under 500 right now, I'm still feeling more optimistic about what I'm seeing because we knew this was going to be a growing pain year. There's going to be a lot of rebuilding, with the loss of Aaron Rodgers and other veterans as well. We have a young team that needs to be established. And considering that fact, I think they're doing pretty well. We didn't expect them to be a powerhouse right out the gate, but who knows? By the time things get rolling, we got some easier weeks coming. Hopefully we can turn things around and get back over the 500 mark.
I'm all for that because I admit that I might have been a little too high on the train of, the Packers. They're a really young team, but they don't seem to know that they're such a young team and they're going to be good no matter what. Mm-hmm. So maybe I was a little over optimistic, but then again, as the Green Bay Packers, you can never be over optimistic.
Famous last words.
Hey, Wayne and Scott, it's Jared in Colorado. Figured I'd finally send in my first piece of feedback for the season. And I'm going to keep it short and sweet tonight. I'm really tired, but I think I'm going to go ahead and summarize my feedback with this. The Packers are the youngest team in the NFL, and the product on the field is that of the youngest team of the NFL. As hopeful as I think a lot of us were, myself included, that maybe the Packers could defy the odds and be one of those rare instances of, hey, it's our super young team, but they're out there, they're taking names, they're kicking butt. And yeah, I was hopeful about that, and honestly, the first couple weeks seemed promising. But, we're settling into the season, and it's not looking that way. Now, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I think the Packers, as young as they are, there's a lot of promise. I see, I can't think of names off the top of my head, mainly because, I'm still kind of learning all these new names. But I think the one thing that we can be hopeful for is the fact that I think there is a lot of room for growth. I think there's a lot of, I think the pieces are there. I think from a player standpoint, I think that they've put out some, there's definitely been some flashes. Like, man, there's moments when On our offense gets going and when the defense is clicking, it's a beautiful thing to watch. But the consistency is not there. But I think that's just going to come with time. It's going to come with practice. Focusing on Jordan Love, hugely impressed with the development that he's had. There's definitely moments where, you watch him throw a pass and it's like, oh, yeah, you definitely studied under Rodgers, because it just looks so similar to the way Rodgers would throw a ball. But yeah, I'm excited to see where Jordan Love can go. Am I saying Hall of Fame quarterback? No, but I am willing to say that Jordan Love can be a pretty damn good quarterback in the NFL. And I'd be willing to say that if he keeps developing the way he has, he could probably end up being a top 10. There's going to be a car pass in here. Sorry. But yeah, so that's kind of my overall feedback. I think, without getting too much into the weeds on tonight's game, I mean, man, it was a tough loss, especially with the way things were rallying towards the end there. Was pretty upset with some two missed pass interference calls towards the end, especially that very, very last interception that Jordan Love threw. Didn't realize it was okay for the defender to push the receiver out of the way in order to position themselves to receive the ball. But hey, the Packers should not have put themselves in a position to rely on a referee getting the right call. At the end of the day, they need to play well enough so that a bad call or no call from the refs is the determining factor. By no means saying the refs call were the reason why they lost the game. Not saying that at all. It's just frustrating to see, especially When it's games on the line, they're driving down the field, you're hoping for the best, then, just that something like that happens. So just left a bad taste in my mouth. But regardless, not putting this on the ref's fault at all. Packers could have played better. Lots of opportunities to do that. But hey, at the end of the day, I'm excited. Proud to be a Packers fan. I think there's a really, really high ceiling for the team as a whole. And we'll see what happens. I think the one nice thing is I didn't really go into the season with huge expectations. So it's kind of been a stress-free season for me. I'm just watching the game, enjoying the parts that go well, and the parts that don't. Hey, that's football, man. Things ebb and flow. I mean, look at the Lions. They're no longer the laughingstock of the NFC. I firmly believe they're going to take the North, and I think the Lions are going to be a thorn in the NFC's side for a while. I think they got their coach, they got the players. Honestly, I'm kind of happy for them. So, anyways, that's what I got. I won't take too much more time. Love you guys. Thanks for the podcast. I've been listening in. Sorry I haven't been super involved. Making some moves at work, putting in a lot of hours. Hopefully that turn pans out at my year end. And biggest thing being my wife and I recently welcomed a baby boy into this world. And it has been a beautiful, beautiful thing for both of us. So I will try to call in more, but just know that if not, it's because I'm busy being a new dad, but I am still listening to the podcast and appreciate all the love that you guys put out into the world via your podcast and via the community that you guys have built. So with that, green and gold till dead and cold. Go Pack Go. Talk to you guys soon.
Thank you so much, Jared. What a nice email. I really appreciate the kind words. And congratulations, man. That's awesome. I hope you are able to get some sleep because I hear that's a thing. So
it is a thing.
By the way, Wayne, I just got to tell you, Jared nails being positive. You'll notice that he did not blame the game on the refs.
I didn't either. Hey, did I? I did not.
He said, hey, if the Packers hadn't put themselves in that position, it would not have had to come down to that. So I'm just saying that. But I'm not sure the other pass interference call he was talking about. I didn't notice it, but I'm going to really have to go back and watch that play and see how much he pushed off. But I like his attitude as well. I talk about these are stress-free viewing of games, because our expectations aren't as high. And I think Wayne's are, so he's having a stress-filled game regardless. So,
Scott, you're not wrong, but I do understand, Jared, your viewpoint. That's a view I haven't heard, and I that makes total sense. And you've got a lot going on between work and the new baby, and yeah, you don't need to be too stressed out watching Packers games. And you're impressed with Jordan Love's development, and like you heard from Jared, Jordan Love can be a pretty dang good quarterback.
He said he could be a top 10 tier quarterback.
I know. I like it.
And you know why, Wayne? Because he's a fundamental quarterback.
He's putting the fun back into the fundamentals.
Exactly.
Oh, so good. Yes, great voice message. Thanks for putting that together, sending it in, Jared. And thank you for the very, very kind words. We do appreciate it. And if we don't hear from you now and then, we know you're probably listening, and that warms my heart. That's a good thing.
Hey, Wayne and Scott, this is Garrett from Southern Illinois. For a game that was supposed to be our get-right game, I can't think of anything that went right. Frankly, when they say anything that happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, I wish this whole team would just stay in Vegas right now. I'm so disappointed. And I'm not going to start pointing fingers at anybody because, again, the insurmountable injuries that we keep incurring in this season is unfreaking believable. Quay Walker goes down. Savage goes down. We're playing with third-string guys, and we're still almost hanging in there. So if there's anything to give us hope is that with a very young team with a lot of rookies starting, a first-year quarterback, tons of injuries, we are still almost in some of these games. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but right now I just can't wrap my head around how poorly they played. I just can't see how they had all that time to prepare and then showed up and looked like they had no energy whatsoever. The defense had moments, but it was just too much. Again, playing from behind has got to stop. We have got to start starting faster than this. It's Garrett, and I'm out.
Garrett, thank you for giving us a call at +1 920 3PACK GO. Great to hear from you and great points. We got to start fast and we got to stop playing from behind. And summing it up by saying that wishing this team's performance could have just stayed in Vegas.
I like that whole whatever stays and happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Yes, please keep the loss in Vegas. Let's just not have that happen anymore the rest of this year. That was a I'm not going to go as far as to say negative, but that was a biting voicemail. That was he is not happy with the Packers right now.
A sobering voicemail because
there
he's
you go.
Amazed at all of the crazy injuries we're suffering, and even though we are still kind of staying in most of the games, no matter how many injuries we're suffering, and we have quite the list. But there is a light, a green and gold light at the end of that tunnel. Garrett, thank you.
Absolutely.
We also got a couple of great emails that were sent to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com. Ginger in Southern California. Hey, Wayne and Scott. I knew this season would be rough and some growing pains would happen, but I can't believe the offense can't score enough to win. The Raiders had 1 interception going into this game, and we gave up 3. I wish Jordan Love would show a little more fire and enthusiasm. I'm not talking about yelling or tantrums, but just be there to help fire up your guys. I don't see him in that role. Our defense kept us in this one. Can't blame them this time around. I was wondering if Scott was cringing on 3rd and 10 and Love throws the incomplete long ball. He used to blame Rodgers for that, but LaFleur may be the one to blame instead. Through it all, always a Packers fan. Go Pack Go. Ginger in Southern California, thank you so much for the email, Ginger. Great points. The Raiders only had one interception, and then we gave them 3 more in one game.
Yeah, I actually had a sobering stat that was sent to me from one of our listeners, Aaron Peterson, over at the Hollywood Outsider. He said that Jordan Love on passes thrown over 5 yards the last 2 weeks. He was only 14 out of 32, 5 interceptions, and 0 touchdowns, with a negative .41 EPA attempt. So, he came out the gate strong, but these last 2 weeks have been not great. On paper, I still think he looks like a solid quarterback. It's just that 3 interceptions is not a good way. We're not going to win games with 3 interceptions. All right, we got another email. It says, hey, Wayne and Scott, CCR from Green Bay. We could have gotten closer to winning the game, but we threw 3 interceptions. It's like they're reading my mind here. We did have some great plays, but it seemed like we must work on our defensive stops. Raiders were destroying us on defense. Even though it was a heartbreaking loss and we have to go into the bye week with another losing game, no matter what, go Pack Go, bleed green and gold till dead and cold. Caleb, Kathy, and Roy Fisher. Thanks so much for the email, guys. Really do appreciate it, as always.
Absolutely. And heartbreaking, I think, sums up that game if you had to give it just one word. Now, let's dig into our weekly poll question, which we post in our Facebook group that you can find at PackersCommunity.com, as well as on X, at Packers Fan Pod. Just throwing this out there. Is anyone in particular on the team going to be feeling any quote-unquote heat during the bye week? Maybe Coach LaFleur? Maybe Joe Barry, defensive coordinator? Maybe Jordan Love? Or maybe nobody. Nobody's going to be feeling the heat. Everything's just fine. And then we also got a couple of write-in votes, which were good. Garrett, like he said in his voicemail, he added the option of insurmountable injuries are going to be taking some heat. And Megan, her write-in option was, I don't even know at this point.
Yeah, I like the insurmountable injuries. Yeah, the physical therapist is going to be getting some heat on the Packers locker room. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Coach LaFleur. I'm sorry, I love the guy the last few years, but the decisions that have been made this season I just am not happy with it. It's like everybody knows that they should be running the ball except him, and it's just really frustrating. Maybe this is why Aaron Rodgers was calling the plays the last couple of years.
Oh my goodness, Scott. Do you think LaFleur may get called into the GM's office and have a little chit chat with Goody during the bye week?
I mean that I would imagine that's happening anyway.
Well, yeah, but I mean a particularly focused meeting with Gutekunst.
I hope so. Where's the running game, man? I guess we need another running back, but you know, I guess that could be his argument is he doesn't want to wear Dillon out. You know, as the I mean, there's other running backs clearly, but they're not as much of a powerhouse as Dillon is. Quadzilla, as the announcers call him. I still love that.
Over and over. Yeah, a good nickname. But when you tally the votes and combine Facebook and Twitter, now known as X, 57% of the voters go with Coach LaFleur, which that probably would not have happened even 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
But there we are.
Agreed.
19% say Joe Barry is the one that might be feeling some heat. 12% said nobody. 8% said Jordan Love. And 2% for the write-in vote of insurmountable. You know, that's a lot of syllables, those injuries. And for Megan's, I don't even know at this point. It's so weird. I understand, Megan. I understand.
We had some comments on this one, too. It's a pretty popular one over in the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook group. First off, Jared McChinney-Kerr says, this is truly a toss-up between LaFleur and Barry. The only reason I'm not picking Joe Barry is because our defense was gassed come halftime. That's not to say he isn't a problem, but within the lens of just this game, I'm picking LaFleur. LaFleur seriously needs to hand over play calling. With Rodgers out of the picture, I think we can safely say it wasn't him changing plays at the line. LaFleur just isn't a great play caller. Interesting. Garrett Stritzel also commented and said, I would say the injuries and rookie mistakes are too much to overcome. Playing from behind for the third straight game has put too much pressure on the offense. That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
And Peter Allison, Matt LaFleur is starting to worry me. I'll start by saying that, but with context, Joe Barry has to go. And they give a little emoji that's a shrug or hands up in the air. It's all about the field position. The average starting position for the offense is row Z. It's pretty clear to anyone watching that the O-line is struggling. All anyone has to do is put us into a position where they can squeeze us. You take away the short passes and the run, ask Love to beat them over the top. Better yet, ask the line to block long enough. There are worrying signs starting to show with Matt LaFleur, but I can at least give him the benefit of the doubt. The offense is young and injured. We have seen what the offense could look like with Bakhtiari, and we only need to look to last week to see what a good team can do and will do to us. I mean, I'm actually jealous of the Lions. How I would love if we had Dan Campbell.
Oh, interesting points, Peter. I wonder, it brings up a good point since Bakhtiari's out for the year officially.
Yep.
Is there a great left tackle available that we could sign during the bye week?
I don't know, man. I mean, like, I haven't been looking at the waivers at all to see who's in free agency or up for trade. I don't know well enough. I'm not the expert when it comes to that. I'll have to ask my buddy Matt. He has his finger on the pulse of all things football, pro and college. So maybe I could get some insight from him as to what could happen there. But I had another message that posted on there from Dictus in the Netherlands. He says, I don't think it is anywhere near hot seat level, but Matt LaFleur is in charge, and it is on him to get his guys better prepared all around and be better at having a plan B. You can't hang your hat on one guy during prep. Jones was a late scratch, and there seemed to be no or not enough or good enough of a backup plan. They had a mini bye to prepare for the Raiders, who are one of the weaker teams in the league at the moment. Not a great look. I still believe this team can be good, and this year is about gelling and growing and all that. But there still is a bar, even if it is a low bar this year. This game was just not up to par. Ups and downs were expected, but against the Raiders, I did not expect, this. Hope they'll get healthy now and then start to build again. Anyway, that said, go Pack go.
Oh my, great points, great points. Also in the Facebook group, David Newman. I don't think LaFleur's seat is heating up quite yet, but I do have some concerns. The clear answer is Barry. He shouldn't have even been back this year, yet here we are. Sure, the Raiders only had 17 points, but they haven't been a good offensive team all year. I think they only had 1 3-and-out this game, allowing them to at least get decent field position before punting, putting the offense in poor field position and such. A lot of the concepts don't make sense to me, or maybe they're not coached well enough for them to be playing. An example from the game was the first touchdown. Rudy Ford is at the goal line, playing so far off that it's an easy pitch and catch. Manningcast pointed out Van Ness was supposed to be in coverage immediately, but instead faked rushing before dropping. Well, then that to me is on the coaching, who should have made it clear to drop into coverage immediately. They should just get rid of him now and give someone on the staff a chance to improve this defense. With so many first rounders, this defense should be much better than they are. And Bill Gardner says this was straight up bad coaching. Bad coaching job by LaFleur. Jordan had a bad game, but had no dang help from his line or the coach. The defense wasn't great, but they were good enough to win this game. This team is really young, but LaFleur just seems to have no idea what to do when Aaron Jones isn't in the game.
Yeah, that's a good point.
A very good point. And on Twitter, that I now call X, Brad says, nobody feels the heat in Green Bay ever. I can see that point. I see that. And one more on X, Royal X Storm, who had that username long before Twitter became X, says, offensive play calling is absolute dog excrement. Putting it nicely, there's zero identity on the offense at all. If Jones doesn't get 150 plus yards, we struggle against anyone and everyone.
Here's to hoping Jones comes back in a couple weeks, man, because
yes.
I love me Dylan, but I like him better when he's paired up with Jones for sure.
100%. So there's all sorts of great conversations happening in the Facebook group right now. Check them all out, join in, and quick reminder, your calls, your emails, your comments, all of that stuff, your support, it's such a big part of the Packers Fan Podcast, and I can't thank you enough.
Also, remember to be a part of the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community and be part of the conversations at packerscommunity.com. We're going to move on to next week a little bit. We don't have a game to recap, and next week is the bye. And David Newman suggested a topic for next week. How are you feeling about Jordan Love? I know we've been talking about him a lot, but we're going to really focus on him next week, and we want your feedback about how you feel about Jordan Love's performance overall. We'll post on social media to get your responses, but this will be our topic since we're not going to have a game to recap next week, and we want to make sure we give you guys some content, so stay tuned for that.
Absolutely. In fact, make a little note and include that in your voice messages to us at feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com or even the good old +1 9203 Pack Go.
Lastly, we got our 2023 season wager of fun, our game predictions. Sadly, Wayne, you and I both picked the Packers to win, and so did everybody in our community. So
with good reason.
With good reason, with very good reason. So nobody got any points this week, which means I am still in the lead with a score of 2-1. That feels good, man. That feels real good. David Newman still in first place. I think he's the only one that's got it right so far. He's got 3 wins. So everybody else has their work cut out for them the rest of the season. But congrats to David for his brilliant picks.
Yeah, he's like the Detroit Lions of the division right now. He's pulling away with it all. I mean, the Lions are 4-1 in the NFC North, and I don't know when the last time anybody said that. Packers are 2-3, not great, but could be worse. The Vikings are 1-4, and the Bears 1-4.
They finally won against Washington. So
wow.
Some other happenings in the NFL as well. Did you see that Justin Jefferson is being put on injured reserve for a hamstring injury?
No, I missed that. I knew that he was injured, but I didn't know he went on IR.
Yeah, that's a huge blow to a team that's already 1-4, losing one of the top tier receivers. That's pretty rough. And also the 49ers, could they beat the real deal this year, man? They just destroyed the Cowboys 42-10. I think the comment I heard from Aaron through some text messaging this week was they look Super Bowl ready already, and it's kind of hard to argue with that. They look really good.
No, please, no. Make it stop. I was actually rooting really hard for the Cowboys, and they just let me down. The one time I root for them. I mean, I know there's a lot of talk. They're 5-0 currently, but everybody seems to be forgetting the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles are also 5-0.
Yeah, that's true.
And the Lions may only be 4-1, but they're looking like a contender, at least at this early point in the season. Mm-hmm. So let's not crown people this early. Especially
you'd be crowning it if it were the Packers, man. Come on.
Gosh, I hate the 49ers. Let's talk about something positive around the NFL. The Jaguars and Bills game, I don't know if you got up early enough to see that. It was in London. Here in California, it's a 6:30 a.m. start time, but that's about what time I roll out and pour my wheat checks and everything. It was a great way to start Sunday morning. Normally those early games don't really entice me, but you got the Bills, the Jags, the crowd at Tottenham Hotspur. They were fired up, and there were a lot of Bills and Jags fans in the audience, though I did see, of course, all the other teams represented as well. The Jags ended up winning that game, which maybe being in London 2 weeks in a row and not coming back to the States and flying back, that was a good call on their part.
Apparently, yeah. I also want to remind everybody else about my other podcast, The Gaming Outsider. We are releasing a new episode every Wednesday. And this week, Wayne, I thought you might get a kick out of this. We are discussing obscure games that we believe everyone should play. We're calling it Obscure Must Plays. We also talked about the newest Assassin's Creed game called Mirage, which feels like a throwback to the original games in the series. I am absolutely loving that game. And last time I get to remind you guys about our video game convention called the Rock River Valley Video Game Convention. It's being held this coming Saturday, October 14th in Rockford at the Lyron Club. If you'd like some more information, head over to our website, thegamingoutsider.com/R2V2. I would greatly appreciate it, and I'd love to see you in person. If you love video games, want to meet a video game celebrity, voice actor, come on out. It'd be great to see you.
And did you say thegamingoutsider.com?
thegamingoutsider.com. And if you want more details on R2V2, slap on the end of that /R2V2.
And speaking of R2V2, this is going to be a big event for you. Didn't something special happen just a couple of hours ago leading up to this?
Yes, actually. I was invited down to City Hall in Rockford here. I was myself and Chris Behrensmeyer and Jacob Gunderson from my team. They invited us to the council meeting because they made an official proclamation in the city of Rockford that the week of October 8th every year is going to be officially Retro Video Game Week and October 14th Retro Video Game Day in the city of Rockford. And they made a proclamation because of us. They said they did it in our honor. So I have this really fancy document signed by the mayor. I got to meet the mayor. He presented it to me and read it to the council. And it felt kind of cool, man. Doing something great for the community and getting recognized for it is a really good feeling. So shout out to Mayor McNamara for doing that for us. I appreciate it.
That is fantastic. Congratulations.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much for giving back to your Packers Fan Podcast via Patreon. We do really appreciate it. Details for becoming a patron yourself and other ways to give back to the show are at packersfanpodcast.com/give back. Dan Dollar, thank you. Go Pack Go, as well as Yo Ho Ho for your Jim Ringo level support of the Packers Fan Podcast. Jay Walters, Go Pack Go, and thank you for your supporting the show at the Rogers 12 level. We really do appreciate it, and we love you, man.
Also, thank yous and Go Pack goes to the legendary Brett Favre level supporters Miguel Ramirez from the Opposites Attract podcast, as well as Colin Nolan from Ireland, who you heard earlier, helping us out with Daniel Whelan's pronunciation of his name. Thank you for that. And Curly Lambeau. Go Pack goes. And thank yous to Hank Davis from the TPE Network and Joe Christensen. If you would also like to give back to the show, maybe even become a patron of the Packers Fan Podcast, check out the details that Scott told you about at packersfanpodcast.com/giveback. And as a reminder, the unofficial Packers Fan Podcast is not affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers. But with that being said, please follow the Packers Fan Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And of course, tell a friend, because sharing is caring. Thank you.
Also, you can follow us on social media. We are on Twitter. We are at PackersFanPod. And you can follow me personally at GoCastScott or Wayne himself at Wayne Henderson. As the Packers head into their much-needed bye week, take it away, Dan Dollar.
All right, this is Dan, a.k.a. Peck Sparrow, and Brett.
Coming in from Tottenham, all the way from London, England. And this is the Go Pack Go.
Go, 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 go.
Go Pack Go!